HD. ZNS Network presents The Bahamas Tonight. This portion of the news brought to you by BTC Every Day.
Police wasting no time charging the wife of the multi-millionaire podiatrist murdered last week in Old Fort Bay. Good evening, everyone. I'm Charisma Robinson.
And I'm Chris Saunders. Thank you so much for joining us. Authorities found the body of 54-year-old Philip Vasily, best known for his creation of an award-winning foot support product, stabbed to death in his dining room of his new mansion. He had been dead for more than 7 hours, according to police. And as Altovis Munnings tells us, as she was in court today for the arraignment, police have a lot to go on.
Family and friends of 54-year-old murder-accused Donna Vasily arrived at the South Street Magistrates Court around 10:30 Monday morning to hear her fate. About an hour later, the female suspect emerged from the rear of the Nassau Street Police Station, dressed in a black shirt, black jeans, and beige flat shoes, holding her head down, handcuffed, and under heavy police guard to appear in the magistrate's court, as the press also awaited for her arrival. The native of Australia and Bahamian resident for more than 15 years waited patiently in Magistrates Court Number 9 before the arrival of Chief Magistrate Joyanne Ferguson Pratt. Once the court session began, the Chief Magistrate revealed that the 54-year-old was charged with one count of murder of her husband, 59-year-old podiatrist Philip Vasily. She is also the mother of the couple's two adult children, Lauren and Aaron. The multimillionaire podiatrist was found stabbed to death in his Old Fort Bay mansion last week Tuesday. Police say the murder victim's body was found lying on the mansion's dining room floor at 8 a.m. It is also reported that Dr. Vasily was stabbed 7 times about the body and appeared to have been dead for more than 7 hours. Mrs. Vasily was calm in court as the charges were read. Prosecutor, Assistant Police Superintendent Clifford Daxon approved the case be fast-tracked to the Supreme Court through a voluntary bill of indictment. The case will begin on May 20th at noon. The Chief Magistrate then advised the murder-accused on the status of her case. Mrs. Vasily was also given approval by the Chief Magistrate to speak with her family and friends before exiting the courthouse. But upon leaving the courtroom, she blew kisses to her family and friends. The group then waited for several minutes before speaking with their relative. Some even shed a few tears. Mrs. Vasily, who is the project manager of her family's $200 million foundation, is represented by attorneys Elliot Lockhart QC and Maria Ducille. Both attorneys informed ZNS News exclusively that their client remains in high spirits and confirmed that it is a normal procedure for a suspect to meet with their family members before leaving the courthouse for incarceration. The female murder accused has been remanded to the Bahamas Department of Corrections until the start of her voluntary bill of indictment. Altovis Munnings, ZNS Network News.
Alto, thanks a lot. Police and the EU agents seized almost $500,000 worth of drugs today in South Bimini in one of the largest busts for the year. The police unloaded the drugs here in Nassau at DEU headquarters. After acting on a tip, they boarded a 30-foot sailing sloop with American registration in South Bimini's marina, where they found the 436 pounds of drugs on board. They also arrested a 52-year-old American who was on board as well. DEU Commander Chief Superintendent Mr. Butler says they believe this is a part of a much larger ring.
Well, we won't be able to put a size to it, but already we've learned a greater deed of intelligence from speaking with that particular person in custody, and that's why we are continuing to pursue other persons who may have been involved with this trafficking ring.
The drugs have a street value of about $436,000. Commander Butler said because of the amount of suspected marijuana and where it was found, they believe Bimini was not the intended final destination for the contraband.
We are still early in our investigation, but we can tell you from past experience that particular zone will be a hub for further transshipment into America, and so we somewhat suspect that may have been the intended journey.
Prime Minister Perry Christie today addressed delegates at the high-level interactive dialogue, an organ of CARICOM, on the topic, the International Decade for Action.
Attendees are focusing on progress achieved and lessons learned for sustainable development. Prime Minister Christie told delegates at the United Nations in New York that the aftermath of the global economic and financial crisis have translated into a less than favorable context for small island developing states.
He also cited climate change, health, pandemics, and terrorism risks as threats to progress. He said persistent low growth rates, crippling external debt, and growing unemployment in the region are evidence of that. He said CARICOM has adopted either homegrown or multilateral supported stabilization and adjustment programs which have yet yielded results, and consequently the region has embarked on a plan to reposition itself.
He noted CARICOM's approval of the Strategic Plan for the Caribbean Community 2015-2016 approved at last year's CARICOM Heads of Government meeting as the start of a remedy to the problems facing the region. The plan details goals including building competitiveness and advancing human capital. Additionally, the Prime Minister, Mr. Christie, said efforts will be made to create green jobs, forge a culture of innovation and entrepreneurship.
Coming up in the Bahamas tonight, Scotiabank laying off a number of employees. Stay tuned for the story. We'll give you all the details.
This portion of the news is brought to you by Lux Men's Warehouse.